Some horses you simply can't tame, not because they're wild, but because they were never meant to belong to us. I once heard an old horse trainer whisper, like a man telling a secret. Some horses will never let you put a saddle on their back, not because you lack skill, but because they don't accept you as part of their world. Back then, I didn't believe him. I thought all horses were gentle, graceful, like in the Western movies. Until I stood face to face with a real wild Mustang. It didn't run, it didn't kick, it just stared at me, a cold, piercing stare, like it was saying, "Who do you think you are, to climb on my back?" For thousands of years, horses have been by our side, in wars, on farms, across untamed landscapes. But not every horse was born to follow. Some were made to roam, to resist, to remind us that true power never bows to reins. Today's video isn't about mean horses. It's about those rare, untamed souls, beautiful, powerful, and dangerous, not because they're evil, but because they are nature in its rawest, purest form. This is the 10 most dangerous horse breeds on Earth, and what happens when humans are no longer in control. People often call them wild horses, but untamed isn't just a word. It's not just about attitude, it's about instinct, genetics, and a complete refusal to play by human rules. One of the clearest examples is the Przewalski's horse, the last truly wild horse on Earth. Native to the harsh steppes of Mongolia, these horses are short, stocky, and utterly indifferent to humans. Approach one in the wild and you won't get a nuzzle. You'll get a flying kick. I once spoke with a conservation worker at a Przewalski reserve. He said, "We wear light body armor, not to train them, but just to be near them safely." That's the thing about this breed. They're not resisting us. They've just never accepted us. Then you have the Mustangs and Brumbies, feral horses once domesticated, now reclaimed by the wild. The key difference? Przewalski's horses never lost their freedom. But Mustangs and Brumbies, they're survivors of captivity, and their wildness burns with a kind of memory, a fury, that's often more volatile than the truly wild. A friend of mine, a Mustang trainer, once fractured a rib just by patting a young horse too soon. He told me, "They don't respond like barn horses. They respond like you're a predator." The lesson: danger doesn't always come from malice. Sometimes it comes from two worlds that were never meant to collide. But if you think wild breeds are the only threat, think again. Because next, we meet the horses that look like royalty, smooth, majestic, and impossibly graceful. But behind that beauty lies a mind sharp enough to test you, and a spirit fierce enough to break even the proudest rider. Coming up next, beauty with a warning, the dangerous charm of noble horses. Sometimes, the most beautiful things are the most dangerous. You look at an Arabian horse, deep eyes, flowing mane, a body that moves like poetry, and you think, this is perfection. But if you don't approach it right, that beauty might throw you off the saddle before you even say hello. The Arabian is one of the oldest horse breeds in the world, and one of the smartest. They don't just react, they read you. They sense your tension, your fear, even your uncertainty, and if they don't trust your energy, they'll test your leadership, fast. I once watched a young rider on an Arabian during her first training session. She was nervous, her hands shaky, her cues inconsistent. The horse began circling, stepping back, and then suddenly reared. Not out of rage, but because it didn't trust her. It knew she was unsure, and it mirrored that energy back with frightening clarity. Now, if the Arabian is the emotional reader, the Akal Teke is the mysterious warrior. With a metallic, shimmering coat, it looks like it stepped out of a fantasy novel. But behind that beauty lies a serious temperament. Akal Tekes are known to bond deeply with one person and be downright cold to everyone else. One wrong cue from a stranger and they might freeze, buck, or simply shut down. And if you push them, they won't freak out like wild horses. They'll resist quietly, powerfully, and deliberately, like a knight who's just been disrespected. The lesson? With intelligent breeds, the connection isn't built with reins, it's built with trust. Show up nervous, and they'll magnify that fear. Show up controlling, and they'll challenge your authority. But intelligence isn't the only danger. Sometimes, all it takes is speed, reflex, and raw power. And suddenly, you're on a horse that feels more like a rocket with no brakes. Coming up next, the speed demons, when athleticism becomes a threat. There's a strange feeling when you're riding a thoroughbred at full speed. The wind slams against your chest, the world blurs past you, and your body, it feels like it's no longer fully yours. One wrong shift, one loud sound, one heartbeat off rhythm, and everything can go sideways. The thoroughbred is the world's most iconic racehorse, built not to trot, but to fly. They can reach speeds of over 40 mph, their bodies sculpted like living arrows. But the real danger isn't in the legs, it's in the mind. Thoroughbreds have nervous systems like tight strings. One wrong touch, and the harmony breaks. Many first-time riders don't realize this. Even a small shift in pressure, a little fear in your hand, can send the horse into panic mode. I once saw a thoroughbred during a calm training session. A single piece of paper fluttered across its path. That was all it took. The horse spooked, bolted straight into the fence. The rider flew off, broken arm. No one was at fault. The horse was just doing what it was wired to do, and the rider forgot they weren't on a pet. Now, if the thoroughbred is a race car, the Anglo-Arabian is a Formula One machine. Same speed, but with even more fire, the muscle of the thoroughbred and the mind of the Arabian. And that means one mistake can cost twice as much. Anglo-Arabians aren't just fast, they're emotionally intense. A trainer in France once said, "It's not anger, it's overwhelm. And when they're overwhelmed, they react like a firework with a short fuse." You can't power your way through speed and emotion. With these horses, you have to master yourself first, or you won't last a second in the saddle. But not every dangerous horse comes at you fast. Some just wait, silent, calculating. And when the moment's wrong, they explode in a way that feels shockingly human. Up next, the war horses. Strength, strategy, and absolute defiance. Some horses don't flinch at the sound of war. They don't spook. They don't hesitate. Instead, they charge straight into battle like they were born for it. Andalusian, Marwari, and Lusitano. 3 breeds shaped by centuries of war, tradition, and honor. These horses aren't just powerful, they think like fighters. The Andalusian from the Iberian Peninsula was bred for royalty and bullfighting arenas. Strong, fast, and fiercely expressive. One trainer told me, "Ride it with confidence and it will protect you. Ride it with doubt and it'll challenge your right to lead." These horses don't follow orders. They collaborate if you earn their respect. The Marwari from India, with inward curved ears and warrior eyes, was once trained to shield fallen riders in battle. That protective instinct still lives on today. Get too close without patience, and a Marwari might turn away, yank the reins, or simply refuse to move. It doesn't panic, it calculates. And then there's the Lusitano, Portugal's warhorse of choice, brilliant, agile, and unshakably proud. Lusitanos don't explode when mishandled. They resist quietly, firmly, and with purpose. I once saw a Lusitano step back from a rider, not out of fear, but because the cue was wrong. The horse wasn't reacting, it was teaching. You don't command a warrior. You lead with respect, and you ride with the mindset of an equal. But if war horses teach us about honor and fire, the next group of horses teaches us about mass, momentum, and the danger of underestimating size. These are the gentle giants, calm, slow, until they're not. Up next, the gentle giants, accidents that weigh a ton. One of the biggest surprises for new horse owners is this. The gentlest looking horse on the field might be the one that puts you in the hospital, not out of rage, but because it's simply too big to make small mistakes. Shires, Clydesdales, Percherons, the legendary draft breeds. They're known as the gentle giants, and honestly, they earn that name. Kind, calm, steady. But when you're standing next to a 2,000-pound animal with hooves the size of dinner plates, gentle doesn't mean harmless. A barn worker I once knew told me he was out of work for 3 weeks. Why? A shire accidentally stepped back while he was adjusting the halter. That one step crushed his foot. The horse didn't even notice. It wasn't angry. It didn't mean to hurt him. But that's the scariest part. These horses don't have to mean harm to do damage. Shires and Percherons are quiet, yes, but they're also stoic. They can get frustrated, overwhelmed, or startled. And you won't know until they move. And when they do, it's like a freight train changing direction. As for Clydesdales, America's favorite beer commercial stars, they have a habit of leaning on handlers, not out of defiance, but because they simply don't realize how much they weigh. Power doesn't need rage to be dangerous. Sometimes just one wrong move from a horse that weighs a ton is all it takes. When working with gentle giants, it's not just about trust. It's about awareness and respect for space. Now, if these horses teach us about weight and physical boundaries, the next group teaches us about the mind. Horses so emotionally sensitive, so in tune with your energy, that a single shaky breath can spark a storm. Up next, sensitive minds, when emotion becomes unpredictable. Some horses, you don't need to pull or push or shout, because if your mind is tense, your breath uncertain, they'll feel it and react before you even know what went wrong. Trakehners and Hanoverians, two of the most refined warm bloods in the world. Bred for elegance, brilliance, and Olympic-level performance in dressage and jumping. But beneath that polished exterior is a heart that's wired for sensitivity, not submission. These horses are masters at reading body language and energy. Grip the reins too tightly, they'll pull back. Get nervous, they'll tense up. Lose patience, they might just shut down. Not with a fight, but with stillness. I once watched a Trakehner in a jumping ring, beautifully trained, focused. But just before takeoff, the rider hesitated for half a second. The horse stopped cold. The rider flew forward. There was no rearing, no bolting, just a message. I won't jump unless you believe in the leap. Hanoverians are similar, but carry more explosive power. When trained right, they move like ballet dancers wrapped in muscle. But under pressure, or poor handling, they can become stiff, reactive, and completely unpredictable. Their danger doesn't come from disobedience. It comes from emotional complexity, the kind that doesn't forgive rough hands or impatient riders. With these horses, skill isn't enough. You need heart, timing, and emotional clarity. If you don't understand them, they won't trust you to lead them. And if these breeds teach us the weight of emotion, the next group reminds us of the spotlight. Horses bred to shine, bold, flashy, elegant. But one wrong sound, one sudden move, and the whole performance can collapse. Coming up next, the show ring stars, beauty on the edge of breakdown. When a saddlebred walks into the show ring, lights shining, mane flowing, hooves lifting high like a dancer on stage, what you see is beauty. What you don't see is the pressure behind every step. Saddlebreds and hackneys are bred to perform. Their gait is animated, their presence electric, every stride choreographed, every glance rehearsed. But that precision, it comes with a cost. These horses respond to tiny cues. The slightest shift in your seat, the faintest change in your breath. And when something breaks that rhythm, the entire performance can fall apart. I once watched a 14-year-old girl ride a hackney in a championship show. Just seconds into the music, a gate slammed shut backstage. The horse flinched, spun, and reared. The girl hit the ground, not badly hurt, thank God, but her dream shattered with the echo of that metal slam. Show horses are often described as nerves on hooves. They pick up on your energy, posture, even unspoken doubt, and that's the danger. When a rider isn't centered, calm, or present, the horse doesn't just sense it, it becomes it. Some horses don't need aggression to be dangerous. They just need to be too sensitive, in the wrong moment, in the wrong hands. And what they teach us is this: behind elegance, there's fragility. But if show horses are fragile beneath the spotlight, the next group is something else entirely. No music, no audience, just focus, power, and pride in horses that trust only one person and challenge everyone else. Coming up next, the one-rider legends, loyalty, resistance, and the test of worth. When people hear the phrase dangerous horse, most imagine flared nostrils, flying hooves, maybe a wild charge through a fence. But the truth is, the danger rarely looks like that. A horse is not a villain. It's a mirror, reflecting fear, tension, or miscommunication from the human in front of it. Horses don't act out because they hate you. They act out because they don't understand you. Or worse, they do understand you and disagree. I once saw a man buy an Anglo-Arabian and try to ride it 2 days later. No bonding, no groundwork, no trust. Just tack up and go. 3 minutes in, the horse reared, snapped the reins, and bolted. No one got hurt. But the relationship broke before it ever began. What most people get wrong about dangerous horses is this: they think it's about the breed. Oh, that type is wild. That one's impossible to control. But often the real danger isn't in the horse's instincts. It's in our lack of understanding, patience, or humility. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the arena is not the horse. It's the way we approach it. So next time you see a horse bolt, buck, or break away, don't be so quick to blame the animal. Instead, ask, who taught it to fear? And if you're walking into that world, are you walking in with respect? Because in the end, as we'll see in the final part, horses aren't born to be threats. They're born to be free, honest, and deeply reflective of who we are. Coming up next, the final reflection: horses, freedom, and the mirror we fear to face. People often ask, how do the pros handle the most dangerous horses? The truth is, they don't handle them. They listen, they breathe, they adjust. Their calm doesn't come from dominance. It comes from a level of awareness that borders on instinct. I once watched a seasoned trainer work with a Hanoverian labeled unrideable. This horse had thrown riders, kicked stalls, broken halters. But the trainer didn't fight it. He didn't even touch the reins. He just stood still, breathed, waited. 15 minutes later, the horse walked closer, then closer again, and finally lowered its head, not in defeat, but because for the first time, it felt safe. Professionals don't ride to prove a point. They ride to listen, to connect, to surrender ego. They don't fear tantrums, resistance, or chaos. They step into the storm and ride through it slowly. It's not about who's stronger. It's about who stays calm longer. In the horse's world, where every movement is a reflection, the safest rider isn't the fastest, the toughest, or the loudest. It's the one who knows that silence is sometimes the loudest answer. And now, as we reach the final part of our journey, we leave the breeds behind and turn the mirror around, not to look at the horse anymore, but to look at ourselves. Coming up next, final reflection: horses, instinct, and what humans still need to learn. In the end, what makes a horse dangerous isn't its hooves, its speed, or its strength. It's how we enter their world, with humility or with ego. The breeds we've met in this journey, from warriors like the Marwari and Lusitano, to speed demons like the Thoroughbred, to fragile performers like the Saddlebred, none of them demand that you be better than them. They just ask you to respect them. I once asked an old trainer, over 40 years in the saddle, "Were you ever afraid of a horse?" He smiled, shook his head, and said, "Not afraid, but I always bow." Then he added, "Because the moment you think you know everything about horses is the moment you're about to get taught something new." Horses don't exist to serve us. They're emotional, instinctive, deeply aware creatures. If hurt, they remember. But if respected, they will walk beside you with a trust that's almost sacred. Standing next to a horse, you don't need to prove you're strong. You need to be genuine, consistent, and humble. Because if you're not, you won't just lose control. You'll lose the chance to know one of the most extraordinary animals we've ever shared this planet with. Thank you for riding with us on this journey through the world's so-called most dangerous horses. But maybe, just maybe, you now see that the danger was never really in the horse. It was in the way we chose to treat them.